Welcome to Patty's Aquatics and welcome to my fish room. So what I want to do today is put another installment of a past vlog I used to do, which was called the Dirted Filterless Fish Room Vlog. But wait a minute. They're not all dirted anymore. I'll take the dirted part off. Welcome to my filterless fish room vlog. Wait a minute. I keep filters now. Okay, just welcome to the fish room vlog. So I want to use this as a way to really document how my fish room has been progressing since I changed it all over. Now, if you're not familiar, I will put a few videos up above the link, but I basically had an entire fish room full of dirted tanks. I took a lot of them down so I can have some variety. I've got sand substrate, gravel substrate, dirt substrate, mix of sand and gravel. I want to document and really see how all these different types of substrates can really work side by side. So what I want to do with this vlog basically is really show you some of the progression as we go through the months here and how these tanks are going. So with that, let me change this camera around and let's take a look at the tanks. Well, at a quick glance, you can see we've got a variety of different things. We've got some clear water, we've got some cloudy water, we have some algae started. We also have some green water all of a sudden popping up in a couple tanks. And then in my puffer tank, things have been going great, except my butthead of a puffer is deciding to eat my anibius plant, which I'm not too happy about. So really the first and foremost thing that I have seen in these tanks since I switched these substrates over has been the occurrence of algae and cloudy water in some of them. Now, the reason for this is, from my own educated guess, is, well, I removed the substrate in a lot of these aquariums and put new substrate in, which, if you're not familiar, your substrate is a huge housing area for beneficial bacteria. And by disturbing that, I really created an imbalance in these aquariums by doing so. And I also could have kicked up any mulm or stuff into the water column, which created this bacteria bloom. And that created these little mini cycles within some of these aquariums that caused that. Now, the green water, I would believe it's almost was a perfect storm. Did I have all these excess nutrients or stuff kicked up into the water column that caused the bacteria bloom, but my lighting and maybe not enough plants in these aquariums really created the green water? So I don't know. That'd be my guess. But the thing that's very strange for me when it comes to these two tanks that have the green water is these are the two tanks when they were still dirted that was giving me cloudy water issues to begin with. And I don't know how I could have transferred something like that over to these, considering that one is entirely new substrate, the same plants, but entirely new substrate. This one was the cap that was in that dirted tank. So I have the same substrate in there, same plants, just not as many. But I just find that very weird. But it's not the only tanks that have cloudy water. This one has a haze yet. My Rainbow Shiner tank has a haze as well. So what I'm going to do with that today is I want to do a water change in my aquariums. Now, I know water changes are not a problem solver when it comes to bacteria blooms, but I want to do it because if there is excess nutrients, I'm going to cut that down a little bit. Let's dilute it a little bit. But before we do that, let's look at a few of these tanks and let me show you some of the things that I've seen. Let's go to this 20-gallon tank here that has my CPDs in it. And this was the heavy crypt tank where they melted tremendously. Well, I do have new growth started here. They are popping back up. So this is going to be a long game, obviously, because crypts are slow growers, but they will come back. The one thing I did notice that I don't like in here, if you see, snail eggs are everywhere. They are producing big time in here. I don't mind snails to a point, but I don't like that many of them. The problem is I feed a lot in these aquariums because I'm really trying to get these fish to breed, and that's just part of the game, unfortunately. But I will scrape all that down and try to get rid of some of them. Let's look at the puffer tank real quick and show you what this butthead's been doing. I keep noticing plant leaves at the surface of the water, and I'm like, well, how does this keep happening? Well, if I can get a good look here for you guys and look at my Anibius, those are bite marks. He must be attacking it for some reason. Why that is, I do not know, but he's been being a butthead and attacking my Anibius. But other than that, the water has been crystal clear. And in my last Fishroom tour video, I showed you that I was getting a little bit of cyanobacteria on my substrate. Well, that has completely dissipated and is gone now. I do not see a lick of it anymore in my aquarium. So it's just taking time for it to kind of balance itself out again, this aquarium, and it's starting to do great. I I think this one is a little over a month since I've changed the substrate. Some of the other ones, like I believe I did these three like a week later, so this one is probably just around a month since I switched these over. And then these four over here I did the next weekend, so that would have been probably about 3 weeks ago since these are done. So it's all kind of a progression as they go and mature a little more. They all will start to clear up and get better, in my opinion. But so yeah, this tank has been doing great besides him chewing up my plants. Another thing I want to show you is obviously the algae that has been starting to be created in these aquariums. A lot of this string algae. I don't mind some algae, I really don't, but that's a lot. So I'm going to want to pull some of that out of there to keep that in check. And a large part of that, in my opinion, is, well, one, the nutrient level within these aquariums now, because I don't have as such heavy plant load as I used to. So obviously there's a lot of nutrients in the water, and the algae is really taking off on it. But so are the plants starting to. Like I showed in some of these past videos, my crypts are coming back in a lot of these tanks. I've seen my dorsads propagating in a lot of these tanks already too. So it's starting to come along. It's just a process. And here I need to pull out some of this algae in here as well and get this a water change in here and clear up the water some, because there's not a lot of plants in here. But my white cloud minnow tank, this one's been doing decent besides the algae. Crystal clear, not a lick of cloudy water, and everything is looking great compared to this one, where I only have 6 white clouds in it and we have cloudy water. So it's just a progression, in my opinion. But that being said, let's change some water in these tanks, and we'll touch base again. Well, I got my water changes done now. The green water has been diluted a little bit. I got some of that algae pulled out of some of these tanks. Water changed in general, and like I said before, water changes are really not going to solve your cloudy water from a bacteria bloom. Really, the only thing that's going to solve it, in my opinion, is just time. Now, with the green water, there's different things I could do. I could get a UV sterilizer, cut my light down, cut how many nutrients I'm putting into those tanks. So as far as feeding, it's just going to be a matter of time for it really to work itself out, just like anything else, but it will get there. Now, other things I want to talk about and touch on are some people that have asked in comments is, am I going to use fertilizer or root tabs in these aquariums that are not dirted? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. I plan on getting some order put into Aquarium Co-op. I want to get some root tabs and fertilizer and test strips as well, because I haven't tested any of my tanks. I'm not a big tester of water, but since I'm going to be documenting this and kind of taking a look at all the different tanks and see how they go from one tank to another, I want to kind of see where like the nitrates levels are and stuff like that compared to my dirted tank. So I do plan on using root tabs and fertilizer in some tanks and some not. I want to see really what the difference is going to be. Now, like say with these gravel tanks, my crypts are really going to need some type of root nutrient, but with the gravel, all the detritus and mulm is going to build up in that gravel, and that's going to be pretty much free fertilizer. So, but If you have the sand substrates that are more compact, it's going to be harder, I think, for any type of nutrients to get down into that sand in order to feed those type of plants. But any type of root feeding, or excuse me, water column feeding plants, like pretty much everything else in my aquariums, those really don't need fertilizer if you have a decent fish load within them. So I really want to compare those and see how those go, especially when it comes to the crypts and the type of swords that I have in my aquariums, to see with fertilizer and without fertilizer, really the comparisons. Now, the other thing someone asked me once is, do I plan on gravel vacuuming my gravel in my aquariums? The answer is no. Like I said before, that mulm and detritus going down into that gravel, I want that. That's free fertilizer for my plants, for my crypts and swords, or any of those plants that really feed off of the roots. So that's a big part of that. So I will not be gravel vacuuming, well, unless years down the road, my mulm gets so much that it starts to overtake the gravel. That's a completely different story. But as of now, I have no intention of gravel vacuuming at all. So I think that's all I really got for you guys. I will keep doing these vlogs maybe once every couple weeks, once a month, or dependent on if something's happening within these aquariums, and keep you guys updated and really show you the progression of what's going on. And like I said, keep updated and keep that notification bell on for my channel if you're interested, because I'm going to have many videos coming up concerning these tanks. Like I said, with fertilizers, comparison videos there and stuff like that. I have a lot of things planned. So stick around and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to my channel. And then as always, remember to think outside the box. Take a step back into nature. I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.